and welcome to the Chesapeake Today Show featuring Candace Montgomery, Life Enrichment Director.
And Isaiah Hart, Program Coordinator.
Welcome. We got 2 weeks back to back that you're my co-host.
I know. It is cool, though. It's having fun.
Yeah. So we are really getting into a lot of big things happening around the community. This is the first week of November.
Yeah.
So let's kind of backtrack. What kind of occurred last week?
So we had Benny Knight here on that Tuesday. And she was amazing. It was so great to have her here. Her music was really, really cool, and everyone enjoyed her. Everyone had a great time listening to her. And she's very artistic and very theatrical, like how jazz singers are supposed to kind of be, like the voice and the movements and everything. It was really good. It was a really good time, and the band was great.
Good.
So we had a really great time with her.
Nice.
So some other things, the birthday bash, we had a great time with Billy Mitchell. He came on out, so that was really good. And happy birthday to all those people from last month. So it was really good, though. We had a great time last week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. And the only other thing that I know of that occurred last week was Town Hall.
Oh, yes.
Which was a big one.
Yeah.
Touching on a lot of, highlights and important topics of some changes that might be coming down the line.
Yes.
So, trying to create that positivity within the environment is always important.
Yes.
Well, what's coming up this week? Because we're in November now.
Yes, we are in November. So November, we are going to be going to Enview Plantation and the Lee Hall Mansion, actually.
Okay.
So we're going to both. And we are going to eat. I know everyone's going to ask, so we are going to eat afterwards. So it's going to be a great time. I know some of the residents been wanting to go there.
Okay.
So we're going to be going there and just looking at their beautiful places that they have there. It's really cool. It's honestly really, really cool.
And really within this whole Hampton Roads area, there are so many history spots. I mean, it's like, it's endless, really.
Yeah, it really is. Like when we went to the Lee Hall Depot earlier, about a month or two ago probably, it was really a lot of good information that I did not know.
Right.
So it was really interesting to see how much history is really in your own area that you really don't know about. So it's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and then on Saturday, Elisa Bohan, she has some kids coming here, and they're going to be playing the piano and doing a little bit of performance on Saturday. That's the 5th. So that's going to be really fun to have some kids in here and just so they can show off their talents and stuff. So that'd be cool.
And this, so you all know, is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bohan that are residents here at the Chesapeake. And I believe they've come in the past as well. But it's always nice to just see the kids and maybe their little anxiousness or to perform. And kids will always, you just never know what to expect.
Yes.
So I'm sure that will just be, a crowd pleaser all around just to see their reactions to things and
Takes
the
me
group.
back to my days.
Yeah, right? And the only other thing that we have this week is the Elder Finance Fraud Lecture that's on Friday at 2 in the Chesapeake Room. Yeah. So this is an outside source that approached me with wanting to increase awareness within the retirement community specifically for lots of scams and things that are out there that are targeting seniors regarding to their finances.
Wow.
So this should be informative. Make sure that you come out for that. We may even go as far as taping that as well, just because it might be helpful for those that can't attend. But that should definitely be pretty informative.
Yeah, definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think another thing we want to say is Tech Time.
Yes.
Just a reminder, guys, we do Tech Time every Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the Explorer Room.
Yeah.
So we've been having a really good turnout for people to come and ask your friends. They've probably been there and they've gotten help with their different things. So we help with iPhones, Androids, iPads, tablets. Things of that nature, things that you could bring to us, laptops. So we try our best to help with as much as we can. So we also have the Geek Squad that helps us out and everything that are there to help with things that we may not know. So of course someone else is hopefully there that would know more about that with whatever problem they're having. So yeah, make sure you come out, please do. Just typical, you don't even have to have a problem. Just learn about your phone.
Right. That's what I was going to say, because I think it's helpful for other residents to kind of see different experiences and things that they maybe didn't realize were something that they could explore on their phone.
Yeah.
I know last week you had a YouTube video that you showed were just kind of some, because we always keep an educational piece at the beginning, like
Yes.
kind of like an icebreaker, and then
Yeah.
people kind of gets the ball rolling of thoughts of what questions people have. But a lot of people in there said, hey, I didn't even know my phone could do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just residents bouncing different things off of each other.
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't have to come with a particular problem,
No.
but it might just be that you could learn something new.
Yeah, like I taught Mrs. Huffman, Donna Huffman. I taught her about Bitmoji and everything
Oh,
on your phone.
goodness.
So creating little Bitmojis and being able to talk to your phone and having it look like a giraffe, for instance, or
Right.
something, or like a Memoji or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
fun things you can do on your phone you don't even know about, just to
Right.
have a little bit more fun with it. It does more than just call, I promise you.
Right. And I think, too, especially the senior population, it's just viewed as sometimes frustrating, the technology things. But there's a lot of fun stuff
Yeah,
that they can do to maybe
definitely.
connect with grandkids, great grandkids, and things. Because
exactly.
technology is forever changing.
Yes, definitely.
As soon as you figure out one thing, there's something new.
Yes, because I
out there.
promise you, there's some message you didn't see in your phone somewhere from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because I get residents that tell me, "Oh, I have this message and I'm looking for it." I'm like, "This was last year. They sent this to you, so
Oh my
come on out.
goodness.
Just come on out and
Right.
find out more about your phone. It's fun. I promise you, we have a good time."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm just going to recap a little bit too about our Charlottesville trip, because we have
Yeah.
had so many residents approaching myself and you of suggestions of places we should go. I mean,
Yes.
I'm getting things from as far as the Biltmore to New York.
New York.
So we're doing some baby steps here with these overnight trips.
I say let's go to France.
Oh, I mean, hey, possibilities are endless. But if you have a particular place you would like to visit, let myself or Isaiah know. We are starting to collect a list.
Yes.
And just kind of figuring out, times of year, and maybe it's every other month we have something special. Just trying to get in a rhythm of that. And that Charlottesville trip was our little tester, and things went really well. Just kind of feeling the waters of what people were interested in doing. So,
Yeah, definitely. And also, December is coming around really
Yeah.
soon. Christmas time is
know.
here almost. Thanksgiving is coming up. I can't
my
wait to eat.
gosh.
So I'm already hungry for Thanksgiving, honestly. But Christmas time is coming around. Please let me know things you are interested in. If you want to go see certain things or if you want to go certain places, let me know.
Yeah.
So we can definitely do those things. I know people are interested in seeing like the Norfolk Lights and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I know Holly Dazzle probably is going to happen
Sure.
again. So if you guys are interested in that,
Yeah.
we can definitely make that happen. So just let me know things that you're interested in so I can know, so we can go ahead and plan that, because it's about what you guys want to do. So
right. And to kind of piggyback on that, I know in December, I think you have a trip planned to Short Pump
yeah.
in Richmond, which was a resident suggestion of just going to a mall early in the month to kind of maybe do last minute Christmas shopping, things like that. I mean, if you have other suggestions or traditions or things that you like doing that we could incorporate here,
Yeah.
let us know. We'd love to hear those
Yes,
things.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I do want to put a little plug here for the November Connection, because you've all received that by now, which looks beautiful. Thank you, Isaiah. It's a collective work here with
Yes.
residents who edit it, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful production. It's really
Yes.
come a long way. But make sure you're checking out these back pages
Yeah.
of the Creative Writing Club, their submissions. This month's was Tom Walters, which was a fascinating story. I mean, oh my goodness, I would have never. I've known Mr. Walters for some time, and I had not heard this side of the way he grew up and the things that he was exposed to. So definitely take time to read these things. And if you see Mr. Walters, spark that conversation with him, and we'll be curious to see what the next few months will unfold with the submissions and things that Mr. Napier is having those residents do.
Yes, definitely.
So very exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, I know today we do have a special resident guest, so make sure you stay tuned after this to hear Mr. Leo Walsh's story. He's a fascinating man, and just his career and everything with his family and what brought him to the area and finding new love, all of these things.
Yeah.
It's a very heartwarming story for sure. So
Yes.
make sure you stick around for that. But before we close out, I want to do brain teaser. Are we
Okay.
ready for that?
All right. I couldn't figure it out, so I'm curious.
So we'll recap first with last week. So last week's was, how can you tell the difference between dogs and trees? Any guesses?
All right. So last week I was thinking one has bark and one barks.
Yes, that's right.
That's right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Look
Oh,
at me.
I'm so proud of you guys. So by their bark, the dogs have their specific bark,
Oh,
and the
wow.
trees have bark. Good
I
job.
thought I got that wrong.
All right, so this week, since we had Halloween, we're gonna have to, incorporate something a little spooky.
Yes.
So this week, a zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has all the usual rooms except for one. What room won't you find? I'll repeat it again. A zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has all the usual rooms except for one. What room won't you find? So make sure you call me, email me, stop me in the hallway, and let me know. You think you know?
Yeah, I think I got this one.
This one's a cute one.
Yeah.
So let me know what you think the correct answer is, and then next time we'll disclose the answer.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add?
I think that's about it. Pretty much. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, we appreciate you all tuning into this week's Chesapeake Today show, and stick around for that special resident guest, Leo Walsh. See you next time.
All right.
Hello and welcome back to the special interview segment of this week's Chesapeake Today. My extreme pleasure to have Leo Walsh with me today. Leo, how are you?
Good. Everything's fine.
Fantastic. Well, Leo, I have just such fond memories of some of the conversations you and I had over, my 5 years here.
Yeah.
And in a moment, we'll learn you've had even more years than that here. Many more. But I think as residents, some know you well, some may not, and these interviews always give that opportunity to learn a little bit more about each other.
All righty.
So I'm going to take you back in time. Where are you originally from? Give us some input as far as your upbringing.
Well, nowadays I'm often unhappy to say that I was born and raised in Portsmouth,
Okay.
but I loved every minute in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
But I left Portsmouth when I went in the Marine Corps in 1950. And I actually never really came back.
Okay.
My family had all passed away by the time I made visits back, but my family had moved out of Portsmouth because of my mother was the secretary of the superintendent of Norfolk County Schools. When Chesapeake formed, she became secretary of the superintendent of Chesapeake Schools.
Okay.
Therefore, she left Portsmouth probably 63, 64, something like that, and moved to Chesapeake. My dad did not like that. He called Chesapeake the Kremlin because they built the most audacious city hall you ever saw in your life. Blue glass, all of this. But he called that the Kremlin.
So I'm sure what you're speaking of, a lot of residents will relate to their own memories of those transitions from Portsmouth, even Hampton, and then these emerging communities around us.
Well,
so,
the 60s, practically everywhere was had been redevelopment housing.
Yeah.
Where I lived in Portsmouth was what had been built in the 90s. 1890s, what have you.
Yeah.
Beautiful old homes. Somehow or another, the government and its redevelopment housing started tearing down those homes. And in fact, the street I lived on, can't even figure out where my house was anymore.
Goodness.
But that was a shame.
yeah. So I heard you say Marine Corps. How long were you in service? And thank you so very much.
Well, actually, I joined the reserves right out of high school.
Okay.
And forgot about it. And the day the Korean War was announced, June 21st, 1950, I got a call from the Marine Corps Reserve, and it was the first sergeant. He says, Walsh, we are getting called up. In fact, I've got your discharge on my desk. Do you want to wait and get drafted, or do you want to go with the Marine Corps? I thought about it a minute and says, you know what, I was 20 at the time. I'll go with you. And thank goodness I did. For I think it was 3 weeks after I got my discharge from the Marine Corps, I got a draft call from the Portsmouth Draft Board. And I could say, I'm not coming.
Because you had
I'd already served,
served with them.
But
Okay.
that was really probably the best decision I ever made.
So then with that, here you're 20, then what was that next chapter?
Well, when I got out, I went back to work. I worked for the Virginia Railroad for 3 years.
Okay.
In fact, that's a story you'd like. When I graduated high school in 47, Saturday morning, I'm getting ready to head for the beach. My mother said, when will you be home? And I says, I don't know. I'll let you know from the beach. She says, well, you'll go to work at 8 o'clock Monday morning at the Virginia Railroad. I says, how do you know? She says, well, I got you a job.
You know what? I wish some parents would do that today.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that would sure help us out with our staffing.
Well, I didn't go to the beach.
Okay.
I figured I couldn't get down there and then get back.
So you were all ready then for work the next day with the railroad. And what was the name of the railroad?
Virginia Railroad.
Okay.
The Virginian was acquired by the Norfolk and Western probably late 50s. And it was joined with, because they were parallel out of Norfolk.
Okay.
Sewell's Point, which is where the submarine base is now, were the coal piers for the Virginia Railroad. I started as a clerk. I think I made $6.77 a day, 5.5 days a week.
Boy, that's more than I made in my first job. And
Well,
there is a couple years between.
I
You were
know,
doing okay.
Well, I found out very quickly that whatever I had to give half of that to my mother for room and board,
Okay.
and she deserved it.
Yeah?
Yep.
So how many years with the railroad then?
Actually, I was with them 3 years before I went to service.
Okay.
When I came back, I was about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Because I made a decision. I was either going to go back into the Marine Corps because I'd come out as a master sergeant,
Yeah.
and or go to college. And I says, well, my younger brother had already started college in the summer, so I said, I think I'll try it. I'm not let the kid get ahead of me.
That's right. Young
Yep.
kid can't get that college degree and you not. So where did you go to school?
Virginia Tech,
Okay. And major?
mechanical engineering.
Okay.
I had 27 months of GI Bill coming, and I got my degree in 27 months.
So I know you got a lot of Hokie fans out there
Oh,
rooting.
yeah.
As soon as we say Virginia Tech, there's a few.
Well, right now I'm not talking about it a lot because the
Okay.
team's not way so good.
All right, I know that's football season, but it's still the
Oh, yeah.
whole alma mater. And I think you got a couple folks out there in your Smithfield neighborhood that happen to favor Virginia Tech.
Yeah, there are more license plates with Virginia Tech
I
on
think
them
so.
than anything else.
You
yeah.
guys got a little-
I don't have a license plate with Virginia Tech.
All righty. Well, after this, someone may be buying you a Christmas present, so you
No,
better
no.
watch out.
No, I'm happy.
Okay, so then, Virginia Tech, mechanical engineering. Then what was that first job out of college?
Chrysler, I got interviewed by Chrysler and was hired. Well, my roommate, a little story there. The fall of 53, went to sign up for college the first time. I'd done 6 weeks in summer school, but and I met a guy in the line. He was same age as I. He had gotten out of the Army, and we went through the line. He went ahead, and the whoever was at the table says, "You're a senior." He says, "Yes," and he was not. He was just like me, a brand new freshman. So when I said, "Oh, are you a senior too?" I says, "Yes." We want a room together. We had the first floor corner room in the senior dorm as freshmen
At Virginia Tech.
at Virginia Tech.
All right. There's a
No
few
military.
people. A few people may be questioning, but it's okay. Good for you. You were very.
If anyone wants to question, it was for Moyer Hall. It is now a business office for the school.
It sounded like you were most enterprising young engineering, entrepreneurial, and
Well,
seeking that best
no,
housing.
My roommate was the one that took the lead. I followed.
Okay, so that is wonderful. Well, that sounded like a good start to that career. So then Chrysler, did that then move you to Michigan?
Yes.
So that would have been the first time really you've been
56.
out of the state.
Well, yeah, other than
Some Marine-
service.
yeah.
Marine Corps, that sort of thing.
So 58 you joined Chrysler.
56.
56.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1956. What was that first position with Chrysler?
Well, it was really working on a master's. We took a 2-year master's course while working and rotating through departments.
Okay.
And at the end of that, I got my master's out of University of Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah. And then managed 14 different departments. Ended up, my first chief engineer job was in the design office, where the artists were, the clay modelers,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then after, yes, 14 departments and then 3 chief engineer jobs, I ended up as director of vehicle engineering,
Yeah.
and retired in 58.
In 88.
88.
88.
At
And
age 58.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wonderful for you to be able to do that. So again, your final position with Chrysler then was again what?
Well, director of vehicle engineering. I had body, chassis, electrical.
Just really creating,
Yeah.
part of the innovation.
Yeah, I did not have any powertrain.
Okay.
My guru, the man who had pulled me along,
Yeah.
was director of powertrain engineering. But when the car became a total vehicle, then it was my job.
Fantastic. All right. So you're working in the Detroit area. Where was Chrysler's headquarters?
The headquarters were originally in Highland Park, Michigan.
Yeah.
Just about a year after I left, they finished building the new headquarters in Auburn Hills, which is just right at the edge of Pontiac,
Yes.
which is 20 miles north.
So is that where you spent a lot of your years then?
All of my years were at Highland Park.
Highland Park. Okay. Well, I may have shared with you before, I had 4 years of living in the Detroit area. Home was out in Plymouth, and my employment was in Dearborn.
Yep.
Well, of course, Dearborn is Ford. And actually, the retirement community that I opened up was built on Ford Motor Land. So I had met Wayne Doran, who was head of Ford Motor Land.
Yeah.
Chairman of my board was Tom Page, who was a retired executive vice president from Ford. John Sagan was treasurer of my board. John had worked under McNamara
Oh,
at Ford.
what years were you there?
I was there 1990 to 1994.
Okay, well, I had left just 2 years
Absolutely.
before that.
And these gentlemen, many of them would have been in service during
Oh,
your
yeah.
time, but they were in retirement roles. But I just remember, and again, I think it's why I have such a kindred spirit in watching you. Just classy, very humble gentlemen. I know I'm giving you a little bit of compliment
no,
here. Come
no.
on, take it. But no, seriously, it's a lost. I don't want it to be a lost generation. I hope somehow I can watch you. I watched John Sagan. I watched Tom Page. These men who did wonderful things, have the humility, accomplish good things, and just were great role models.
Well, frankly, I interviewed both GM and Chrysler.
Yeah.
I chose Chrysler because I could tell right there it was a brotherhood rather than a job.
Yeah.
General Motors, frankly, the interview with General Motors was at a lunch table with 9 executives. I didn't get one bite to eat because every time I went to take a spoonful, I was asked a question. It was terrible.
Oh, goodness. All right, so let me.
Oh, and Chrysler paid $35 more a month than GM offered.
Okay,
so-
well, that's a good start.
Oh, right. Good to see.
All right, now I think there's also another story here. Many, I'm sure, but I wanted to bring one of them out. Wasn't there a certain executive that left Ford, came over and worked for Chrysler?
Yes.
Who was that? And help me with the relationship you
Well,
had.
there were actually 2.
Okay.
But both of them had been fired by Henry Ford II, known as Hank the Deuce in the industry.
Yeah.
But Hal Sperlich was the number 2 man to Iacocca at Ford.
Yeah.
He came to Chrysler, and at the time, well, in fact, my whole career, I sat in on all the final product decision meetings, having been in styling, which was design office,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
advanced engineering. And we were talking about doing a garageable van.
Yeah.
Ford and GM were definitely going rear-wheel drive. Well, Hal Sperlich said, have you ever done a front-wheel drive? Because I had been the chief engineer of the Omni Horizon, which was the first front-wheel drive vehicles in the U.S. I says, yeah, I got one in the basement, but I've been threatened with being thrown off the building. He says, can I see it? I said, yeah, come to my office. And I showed him the 3/8 drawing. And he says, you said you've got a wood model? I says, I've got a wood model in the basement. It's been there 2 years. And so I showed it to him. He says, I'll give you a call soon. Well, he knew he was going to replace the man that was going to throw me off the 5th floor.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, one morning I got a call from Hal and said, after he had been named executive VP, he says, "Can you get that wood model in the showroom?" I says, "Who for?" He says, "Just tell him it's for the president of the company."
Yeah.
And I
Which
didn't know it.
now was going to become.
I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
That was the morning that Iacocca showed up the first time on the job.
Yeah.
And
So what did Lee Iacocca? Here he was. When he was the founder of the Mustang, Mr. Ford in many ways, and now he's the executive of Chrysler, just working with you. What did he say, and how did you then?
well, during that interview, first he would ask a question, but he ask the question of Hal, and Hal would say, "Leo," and I'd give the answer. And after about 10 questions, finally, Iacocca started asking me the questions.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there'd been 2 years before that we had done the design for that.
Yeah.
And when he finished up, he said, "We can't afford it because we're bankrupt," and which we were. But we're going to build it one day. Well, 8 years later is when we introduced it, and happily, he let me make the introduction speech to the Detroit Auto Show for the minivan.
Pretty impressive. And you very humbly said that. So really, you and your team put the first minivan on the market.
Well, the man that thought of that retired just
Yeah.
after he gave me the assignment to
Yeah.
work on it. But he described what he wanted, and I had about 400 designers and engineers, some from body, chassis, electrical,
Yeah.
every subdivision. And I just brought, I think it was 11 of them into my office and said, "Here's what Ronnie wants."
Yeah.
Ronnie was the executive VP.
Yeah.
And I described it to them. All of them we gave input and what have you, and I just listened. And I just, okay, bring it back when you have some ideas.
Yeah.
They brought it back, and exactly the thing they brought back is exactly what was built in 1984.
Yep.
One styling change was made. They put a little line down of depression that gave it a little speed line.
Yeah. So, Leo, my first minivan was built in 1984. It was the modeled 1985 Plymouth Voyager.
Yep.
Gunmetal blue, had the paneling on the side. I loaded up at that time I would have had, all 4 kids would have ridden in that. Because it was the first 3-seater that we had
Okay.
had. Loved that front wheel drive. I still remember the toggle switches in the middle, my trip taking that to the kids to Disney World for the first time. I still have to share with you. I do tell this story because when you first shared with me about, that's a piece of our culture.
Yeah.
When you think about how minivans have evolved into so much, but they transported families. They created experiences and
they
journeys.
were the beginning of the SUVs.
Absolutely, really were.
Yeah.
And
And the cash cow.
well, and again, for you to have that in really the last 10 years of your career, bringing something to fruition that really did help Chrysler, help the entire auto industry.
Iacocca was very generous when we had money,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be here.
Well, and we are glad you are. I've been to the Detroit Auto Show. In fact, when I lived in Detroit, the couple years there was there and enjoyed it, and it's an amazing experience. And for you to be able to have that basically being the ambassador of this new
Yep.
car, this new project, and being able to relate that to the public, that's pretty amazing.
I enjoyed every minute that I worked, but I was also I requested retirement because I had diagnosis for 3 blockages in my heart, and when they decided to buy American Motors, that an opportunity for early retirement was coming because there was a whole staff of American Motors that had to be integrated.
Yeah.
And Iacocca put out an edict that no directors of engineering could go. Well, I called Sperlich, who was president at the time. I said, "Look, I want to go, and you've got a vice president at American Motors that's going to need a place to go, and I'm not going to work for him.
Yeah.
He said, oh, he went and talked to Iacocca. I got a call. You can retire.
Yeah.
But I stayed during the due diligence.
In the transitions.
And,
Okay.
And the day that the buy was finally settled is the day I retired.
So I have this very interesting vision in my mind. Had you moved on, wow, I wonder if there would have been a new popular Javelin or a Gremlin or a Hornet. Remember all those old
Yeah.
AMCs, Ambassadors? And they didn't make it very long in the
No.
AMC life.
No, but Jeep was
That's right,
was
carried
the
the
key
next.
to the buy, and so everything else
Yeah.
had about a 2-year life, and
Yeah.
but the Jeep is still number one.
It is. It's amazing bringing that into from the old Willie's Garage in Toledo and bringing that up. That was an interesting piece.
Well, you've seen the Willys Garage. Well, Chrysler was started in the Chalmers Road Test Garage.
Yeah.
That's where my parking place was for the last 10 years with Chrysler, in that old garage.
Garage.
Yep.
Isn't that fascinating? See, I once, while I was in Michigan, I used to take my directors, my department teams, and we would do semi-annual retreats, and we moved around the different auto baron mansions. We were in the Dodge mansion, Meadowbrook. So I remember that home, and we brought him in. That was just beautiful. Where the Dodge brothers,
whole family.
and that I never was there a Chrysler mansion? Was there a Chrysler family?
Yeah, well, frankly, Walter Chrysler's family, there was a home, but it was on Grand Boulevard in Detroit.
Okay.
That area was the most beautiful homes you ever saw in your life. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it was fairly close to Motown. You
Yeah.
know, where the Motown building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that Grand Avenue. Then, of course, we think about Grosse Pointe, another generation
Oh,
of money.
Yeah. Ford Motor.
That's right. So Eleanor's
the
was
plants
out
were all
there.
in Dearborn, but everybody in Ford lived in Grosse Pointe.
Yeah. And it is fascinating. You and I both know we call it Dearborn. You know, of course, to the world, it's Dearborn.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to say Dearborn.
Well, it's like Norfolk.
Yeah, Norfolk. That's right. Similar. So we have some practice. Helps
Right.
me here.
Yeah.
So a little bit about family. You know, who's in your life? And again, since 1988, what's been some of your pastimes?
Let's see. We stayed in Detroit for another. Well, we lived in Bloomfield Hills, which was up close to Pontiac, which was very close to where the new plant,
Yeah.
new offices are. But I had bought a place in Hilton Head about 11 years before. And it came time, I said, Marge, it's time to go back home, or retire, just at one home.
Yep.
She says, it's not going to be Hilton Head. We'd had 11 years that she would not. I loved Hilton Head.
Yeah.
But-
And I think you had a little golf game that supported that.
Oh, yes. And I drew a line from Atlanta to Richmond. I says, it's anything east of that line, anywhere we can live. And you're going to pick it out, but we are not going back to Michigan, and we are not going back to Portsmouth, because I'd seen what happened to Portsmouth at that
Yeah.
time. It was terrible.
So what was the selection?
She took the following Mother's Day. She and a friend came to Williamsburg because that's where she had decided, and we were probably the 10th residents in Governor's Land, which is
Yeah.
Two Rivers. So we were there for 17 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I lost my first wife, I took about almost a year to downsize enough to move here.
Okay.
And I'd picked this place in 2005 because that's when I first came here.
Okay. 2000.
No, I came 2004. I
Okay.
was searching for a place for Sue Taylor.
Yes.
Sue Taylor was, many people here will recognize her. She was the lady that was the only queen of the Chesapeake.
Yep.
And it was almost unanimous, only 2 votes. Everybody else voted for Sue.
Yeah.
But
Now, relationship between you and Sue?
Sue and I were first cousins.
That's okay.
Her mother was 12 years old when my mother was born. There were 4 girls. My grandmother, who was also had Sue's name, another Sue. died of tuberculosis just after my wife's birth. No, not my mother's birth. Where am I?
I understand. And with Sue, I know during my first few years here, meeting her, witnessing your love and support for your cousin.
Well.
And then, I think it was a very memorable service and just the whole celebration of her life.
Yep.
And you are so true. Everyone here, the residents just so came out for that celebration.
I'll tell you, I was there with the day she died.
Yeah.
She was 98 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the room, and the head nurse, one of the nurses downstairs.
Could have been Debbie or Amy.
Amy.
Yep.
Amy, Sue started going in her
Yes.
throes.
Mm-hmm.
Amy came in and immediately called. Within 15 minutes, there was a line of employees outside of her door.
Mm-hmm.
All of them wanted to say goodbye to Miss Sue.
Yeah.
And I think every employee here, virtually every employee, went by that bed. It was 2.5 hours that line went by.
Yeah.
And I stood outside watching.
Yeah.
But that lady was loved.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's it's obviously placing her on an appropriate pedestal.
Well,
and I say that, and she wouldn't like to hear it, but I'm just saying that was
she did know the name of every employee.
She did, and she was respected and revered for so
Yep.
many reasons. I also would like to believe it also just speaks of just not the respect for her, but the character of the people here.
Oh, yeah.
And just I think that's the type of thing we have to continue to remind ourselves. We have individuals, and you saw that shining moment
Yeah.
of that true, genuine care and just adoration for her. So fantastic. So
But she came kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
It took 5 years for her to tell me she liked it here, but I already knew that.
That's good. So then you've been here, you've had a good life. You also now have a new partner.
Oh yeah, well I first met that partner at Sue's 90th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We had a party for her up at Two Rivers, and Sue invited 10 ladies,
Yeah.
and then the family. There were, I think, we had 40 people at her 90th birthday party.
Yeah.
And Sue never had one birthday party. She always had a month of birthday parties because she was just that the way she
Popular?
was. Yeah. But no, it was an experience. The real experience was to convince her to come here. I think I came. The Babbs had owned were in the cottage
Yeah.
where David and Judy have now.
Okay.
And Mary Evelyn Babb was my first date in high school, and we were each other's first date.
Wow.
But I came here because they were here, and I says, "Tell me about this place."
Yeah.
And it took over a year to convince Sue to come. She came
Yeah.
in 2005.
Yeah. So for her coming, you right there at that time frame, then I'm going to come back into the pandemic, because was it not in the pandemic when you had your wedding vows for another time in your life?
Yeah, well, frankly, that's the story. Madeline has 2 daughters in California.
Yeah.
And 2 sons here. March 13th, which was the first knowledge of the pandemic on the East Coast,
Yeah.
Madeline got a call from her daughter in California and says, "Mom, pack a bag. Where am I going? Go move in with Leo." She had already heard about lockdowns
Yeah.
in California,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then she hung up on her and called me and says, "Leo, go pick up Mama." I said, "Why?" She says, "Just do it," and
Yeah.
hung up. So I got in the car and came over, and Madeline lived in 204,
Yeah.
the smallest apartment here.
Yeah.
And I says, "Madeline, are you packing?" "Yeah, can I come?" I says, "We don't have a choice."
The daughter commands
Yeah.
it.
So, she moved in March 13th with 2 pair of jeans, a couple of blouses,
Yeah.
2 pair of shoes. Luckily, we had 2 bathrooms because I wouldn't give up mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, about 2 months later, we talked to, what was the name of it?
Sonia.
Sonia.
Yeah.
I said, "Sonia, can you marry us?" She said, yeah, if you got a marriage license. So we got married.
And I remember vividly the pictures. Actually, I think I saw you that day, and you were over in the little chapel, and just beautiful little ceremony.
Yep.
So,
Like 2 minutes it took.
yeah,
But did you notice the shoes that Sandra wore that day?
I can't even imagine. Let me guess.
Sandra had this beautiful robe,
Yeah.
maroon with green.
Okay, remember seeing that? Yeah.
Yeah. And she had a pair of green tennis shoes that matched the thing. Well, that's what we walked into. Plus, and she also had the greenest car that was ever parked here.
Yep.
Right. I love Uwe,
Yeah.
but I love that lady as well. She
Yeah.
was,
We've really been blessed with both those individuals
Yep.
and all of our chaplains.
Yep.
Well, I know the continuation of the story is just you and Madeline have just wonderful household now you have in your cottage,
Yeah.
and two of you have been so active in the Smithfield community.
Yep.
Each of you have your own ways you've been contributed to the community. So, just
Madeline's-
wonderful to see that
Well-
full connection and how you've become so
Yeah,
involved.
we're gonna move out of the cottage. You may have heard that we've asked to get into an apartment.
Okay.
Yeah, frankly, we can't take care of a place that big anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, but again, I think for any of our residents, for you, what a journey. What a wonderful experience. When I think about your entry, helping your cousin, you experiencing your cottage life, coming together with Madeline. I'm excited for the next chapter. It will be great.
well, I'll tell you, the cottage I have is the best of the cottages there.
Ah,
Because my cottage is the only one where the second bedroom has an outside window, not looking through a porch.
so you think we should charge a premium for that?
Well, first you ought to get rid of that garden that's back there,
Yeah,
because that's the reason I'm moving, because I
Yeah.
can't take care of it anymore.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It was there for years,
Yeah.
but
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
But lovely home. And, well, I know the residents in the main building will be welcoming you at whatever time that occurs. But until then, I know you're going to have a great time together. Great holidays coming up.
Yep.
Any special plans?
no. We'll go to the beach Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
Come back, just long weekends, that sort of thing.
Very nice.
No, but frankly, it's been a great experience.
Well, certainly has. And again, what I just think we've done today is just unveil a little bit of what incredible stories you have and your experiences. Oh, modesty, I know is your generation, but I'm just saying to you,
Well-
thank you for sharing. You've really enriched my life as I've gotten to know you and me being able to share. And even as I've told my kids, and they remember that Plymouth Voyager. And I said, I know a man who is really instrumental in this.
Well-
And it's just, those are fun stories of who we are.
I enjoyed every minute of my Chrysler life,
Yeah.
which I think is unusual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, more to come, and maybe you never know. We may dive into that. There may be some story that you can share with us in the future, because it's a type of stories, truthfully, people love to hear.
I have a few stories of that, yeah.
Well, all right. Well, you start thinking about them, because we're going to have to schedule another date. Because again, I think for others that we interview in the future, pretty painless experience. I think this is a fun conversation. Hopefully so.
Well, I did meet that guy later, that fellow that offered to throw me off the 5th floor.
Yeah.
And he said, here's the guy that I told him he was full of you-know-what.
Yep.
And there was a large group of Chrysler former executives there. He said, but he was right.
That
Happy
had to,
moment, yeah.
Yeah. That's
And-
a pretty impressive moment.
And that fellow had been to China, building the dams, the new dams
Yeah.
on the Yangtze River.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But he didn't have that same vision you had for Chrysler.
no, but he was a truck man.
Yeah.
Truck men believe in rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. And here you're creating something very different.
Well, yeah, was fortunate enough to be there when the front-wheel drive
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. And it worked well. Fond memories of it.
Yeah.
I drove it around in Ohio. I had it up in snow area, and it just did fine.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Leo, thank you so very much for being part of
Alrighty.
this experience.
I've enjoyed
Residents,
it.
I know you've enjoyed this one. Great learning about one more of our residents. Until next time, have a great week. Thank you for joining us.